Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Ham Nation is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This episode of Ham Nation was brought to you by ICOM and the new IC7300. ICOM's new innovative HF transceiver is here. And by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. In-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday, until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation. And by audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, episode number 237, March 2nd, 2016. Do you really want a condenser microphone? Hello, everybody. It's K9EID from the Ozarks, and you're watching Ham Nation. We're going to have quite an interesting show tonight because Don is not here. He's had a family situation, and he's cool, but his brother-in-law had some problems, so he won't be here tonight. And about 5 minutes ago, Gordo had a blackout, so Gordon's not here. But guess what? George and I are here. George, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing good, Bob, but it's going to be an interesting night. You know, I'll be playing the virtual Don Wilbanks, and I guess you can play Gordo.
Neither one of us can do that well, but we have to fill in.
Yeah.
Oh, but let me tell everybody, this is going to be a great show. We've got some really nice video from Dale. He's coming up later. But if any of you got QST this month, antenna issue, there's a great article in there about how to make your DirecTV dish work on 2 meters, and it's really, really cool. And John is here. He's going to tell us how he did it, and his call is W6NBC. So stand by in a few minutes, and we're going to learn how to do that. So your neighbors say, I don't know. It's just a satellite dish up there. Yeah, right. What a cool idea. So we'll be here in a minute with that. And we're going to have nice video from Dale. He's got an antenna farm that's an antenna farm, and we're going to have a good time tonight. Amanda's here and watching the chat room, so get her some questions. I've got to answer some more of the audio alley. I'm getting so many letters. Thank you so much for sending the emails, phone calls, on the air, whatever. I even got several postcards or QSLs with questions this week. Couple of things that I need to do is to kind of finish what we did last week. You know, last week we did a thing about microphones, and I had a couple of guys say, well, you forgot a couple of the most popular. Well, I didn't forget. We run out of time. I don't like to take a whole bunch of time to do all that. So we were running a little short, so I said, okay, we'll do it this week. And I'm on a PR40 right now. This is the old standby for most all the hosts here on Twit, whether it's the PR40 or PR30. But a lot of guys have an old D104, either from their CB days or whenever. Let me put my headphones on because I'm going to have to listen a little bit here as we get this all cranked up. And again, I don't play any games with this, and all of the stuff is set flat, and that's the way it should be. So, we can't play any games. But to me, this is the worst microphone ever. I hate it. It's a mechanical cluster. I don't know why you guys like it. Oh, it's cool looking. Well, it might be that, but it's hard to use. All that, it's just awful. My early days, it was known as the chicken choker. And if you like it, okay. But here's why I really don't like it. We're going to turn this off. And I'm going to turn this app. Turn this guy on. And this is why I don't like it. It's extremely tilted in the treble side. Even for DX work, it's just too shrill. It's an element made of crystal, and it just drives you nuts to listen to it. And I hear guys rag cheering with this, and it's like putting needles in your ear, and there's not much you can do about it, even with trying to EQ it. There, I just turned up the bass. That's it. Take it or leave it. And the only way to make them work is, now let me get off this thing. It drives me nuts to listen to it. The only way to make them work, and you can make them work, but you have to build a very special high impedance preamp. You got to do a bunch of emphasis and de-emphasis and then make it work. But, it's a lot of work. Nah, there's a lot easier ways to do it today. But now I got another one. And you know, if you listen to me for a long time, if you see some of the things I do in person in the clubs, one of the things I detest are condensers. I know. Well, I'm going to prove to you tonight why. See, it's all right to say things, but how about proving it? Okay. And that's what we're going to do. Again, not playing games. Everything is right down the line, equal. But here's why I don't like condensers. I'm going to just turn this level down. And I'm going to turn this level up. Now, here's another thing I'm going to do. Let me do this. Okay. First of all, you hear the whole room echo. And if you have any kind of blowers or noise in the background, it's louder than I am. And it's like, it's pretty awful. When I hear guys with condensers, this is what I hear. I hear the whole room echo, which just drives me pretty crazy, because I know you can get rid of it. And how do you get rid of it? You forget condensers. It's an ego trip microphone. Oh, I have a condenser. Good for you. But listen to it. It's awful. Check this out. Here's the PR40. Do you hear all that junk in the background? No. And I'm not playing games with you. If I bring up the condenser, listen. It picks up my voice, but it's still, the voice isn't as good as the 40. And all this noise, that's just that little receiver up there. We turn that down. See, I haven't touched that receiver. And so it's one of those things that you make the choice. But you have to really rethink this condenser thing. If there would be any use, it would be an absolute recording studio that's probably got $1.5 million worth of treatment to the walls. There are no standing waves. There's no reflections. And that's a different deal. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about ham radio, and you should never have a condenser microphone on ham radio. Oh, but I bought one for $40. Yeah, right. Well, you heard what you heard. And I just get really infuriated because it's so much better. But we figured out how to even improve the quality of the condenser by using large dynamic elements, and nobody ever had tried to do that. Well, I can't say that. Shure tried it several times and failed years ago. That from one of their engineers. But we have to think about what we're going to do with these things when you plug them in. And so I set this all up tonight. I've got the condenser into channel 4 of the Elises, and the PR40 is into channel 1. And equalization is set on all of them. The D104 is stuck into the, I've got a little impedance transformer for it, by the way. That's another thing. This thing's about, I think the last count I had, and it varies from what I hear, but it's in the millions of ohms, the impedance of a crystal element. And you go jabbing that into the front end of a low impedance transmitter, and you're in trouble right away. But they did a thing when the CB guys, the CB craze, oh, isn't this cool? When the CBers got with the D104, which was built back in the 30s and died for many decades until the CBers came along, they had to do something, so they built an active impedance matcher in the bottom of that microphone. And everybody thinks it's a preamp. No, it is not a preamp. It takes 1 million ohms and makes about 1,000 ohms out of it actively. So that's what that's all about. And a lot of guys get in trouble trying to match it up. Well, it certainly isn't a gain problem. It has a lot of output, I got to tell you that. But anyway, that's some of the things I've been playing with, and I'm happy. I hope you learned something from that condenser episode. Oh, I got to show you something. I keep forgetting this each week. This is the coolest thing, and you don't see much about it. You know, you have microphones that screw on a stand, and you want to take it off real quick. There's a thing that's made by Atlas Stand, and it's called the LO2. I have dozens of these around here. Just about everything I have has an LO2 on it. Is this cool or what? It's 5/8 the threads, so it fits a standard mic thread, and then it's got the little quick release. Keep your eyes open when you see all the concerts and all of the stuff on TV. All of us that are out there doing stages and artists, almost every one of them's got an LO2. Why? Because we can take the mic off real quick. And that's a cool little deal. They're on the internet. You can find them. Atlas LO2. It's really cool. It's a neat piece. There it is, right there. And it's so helpful. George, do you use LO2s? I bet you know about an LO2, don't you?
Well, yeah, I've seen those a lot, and no, we really don't use them much around the studio because those mics are there, and we don't want anybody taking them away.
Well, they're sure used in our industry a lot, and just thought I'd show some of you guys some of these cool things that we have. But there you go with some of that, and we want to be sure and tell everybody about the survey. Please take the survey. This helps a lot. It lets our advertisers know, hey, we're there. Because without the advertisers, we have no Ham Nation, we have no TWIT. So be sure you take that survey. And Brian, if you've got a slide of that, why, there it is right there. twit.tv/survey. Please go do that. It only takes a couple minutes, but it sure helps Leo and all the gang. And it's a neat deal. So please do that for us. We want to have you let people know how important Ham Nation is to you. And what's really important to all of us, George is going to tell you about here in just a minute. George, what do you have coming on from ICOM?
The IC7300 is here. ICOM's new innovative HF transceiver will far exceed your expectations for a radio considered entry level. The 7300's RF direct sampling system is an industry first. It departs from the conventional superheterodyne system. RF signals are directly converted to digital data. Digitizing the RF before various receiver stages reduces inherent noise generated from different IF stages. A large 4.3-inch color touchscreen promotes intuitive operation and functions like the waterfall, which displays high-level performance in resolution, sweep speed, and dynamic range. The audioscope function allows you to observe various audio frequency, transmit, and receive characteristics, and a high-resolution real-time spectrum scope includes a new magnify function. Other great IC7300 features include RMDR and superior phase noise characteristics, 15 discrete bandpass filters, and more. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur and learn more about the new ICOM IC7300. And you can tune in and enter to win after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to icomamerica.com/hamnation and register to win for some great swag prizes like T-shirts and hats. And while you're there, learn how you could win the monthly grand prize drawing. And for February, we've got a winner now of the ICOM ID 51A Plus dual band, dual watch handy-talkie. That is William N. Congratulations, William. You're really going to love this handy-talkie. I don't know if William's got a call sign or not. It doesn't say there. So, hey, if he's not a ham, he's going to have to get busy and take that exam. Congratulations. And we've got another prize for March. It's going to be the ICOM ID 880H, VHF, UHF, digital transceiver, analog and D-Star, 50 watts on both VHF and UHF, a wideband receiver, free CS80/880 cloning software, and a lot more. So go to icomamerica.com/hamnation after this and each episode of Ham Nation and register to win. Somebody's going to win these radios, and hey, why not you? And Bob, we were just looking at that IC7300 there. I've got some good news. Ray Novak is going to be here in the studio in 2 weeks, and we're going to be taking a look at that rig firsthand. So Ray will be on with us I believe it's the 16th of March, and we'll learn more about that 7300. It's supposed to be a game changer.
Well, it's going to be good, and make sure that you put a chain on it so when he goes, it stays.
Yes. Yes, exactly. I really like the way it looks, so I'm real enthusiastic to get my hands on it and learn more about it. Well, you know, I asked a question last week: which of the following is a good electrical conductor? And this came from the amateur radio technician exam. It's either A, glass, B, wood, C, copper, or D, rubber. And we had a winner for that, and it's Scott Meyer. Scott, congratulations. He said a good electrical conductor is copper. So we're going to be sending you 50 feet of DX Engineering's 400 max coax with their custom connectors already installed on it. You're going to like that. Who doesn't have enough coax? I don't. And this is some really good stuff right here. As a matter of fact, we're going to give away some more next week. So in case you haven't won yet, there's still a good chance. To enter, all you need to do is answer this question, and that is, what is the name for another antenna very similar to an off-center fed dipole? Send your answer to me, hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you could win. And I've got another prize to go with it. You know, if you got this coax, you're going to put a radio on one end. You need something on the other end. And the reason I ask about the off-center fed is I've got one here from MFJ. It's a 40-meter off-center fed dipole that's resonant on 40, 20, 10, and 6. It'll carry up to 300 watts PEP, and we're going to throw that in as well. So hamnationcontest@gmail.com. Tell me another name for this antenna right here. And with that, Bob, you've got a special guest on here tonight, and you kind of piqued my interest there on using that DirecTV dish as a 2-meter antenna. I've used it for 2.4 gigs for Wi-Fi before, but I didn't have any idea you could get down in the 2-meter band with it.
Well, I'm really happy to have John on with us. You know, I got my QST this month, and there's an article in there about this particular antenna. And I'm going, wait a minute. Well, I'd heard of John, and I knew he was around doing super things, so I called him, and here he is. John, W6NBC, thank you for joining us. It's really good to have you. Where are you located, John?
I'm located on the Central California coast in the town of Santa Maria.
All right. Well, we're so happy to have you. And I think the first thing we'll do is have you tell us a little bit about how this started. Now, I know that it's a slot antenna, and explain to us about a slot antenna. That's something you don't hear a lot about. So explain to us what's going on with that.
No, hams are not familiar with slot antennas, despite the fact that they're pretty widely used in the radio world. I sent you a couple of pictures, but I have some of them here too. For example, right here, this is there's one. There's the antenna itself, but coax, what's that? I don't recognize that picture.
Flowers.
Sorry.
There you go.
Okay, the slot antenna is a hole, a thin rectangular hole cut in a large metal plane. Now, it just doesn't make sense that that could be an antenna, but the truth about it is that it can be. The RF currents run around the slot, which is a resonant length, and the currents right at the edge of the slot actually act just like a dipole, except for one very critical factor. Polarization is rotated 90 degrees. So
now, John, what we're looking at there, that's actually, you took a saw and cut that that slot in there. Those two, we can see the shield and the center. It looked like they would be shorted together because they're on a piece of metal, but they have that slot in between them, and so they resonate. Is that true?
Yes, that's a resonant slot in between there, and it's 39 inches long. Anybody on 2 meters should recognize 39 inches, twice 19, and it's just like a dipole. It's 39 inches. Because it's on that dish, it has to be bent down. The dish is not quite big enough. Ideally, it would be straight, but that's very little. It's not very different. There's the feed point of the antenna, just simple coax with a couple of terminals on the end.
And that's bolted right to the dish. That's really cool. I was amazed at the SWR value of it. Now, that one, we'll hold that for a second. That's one on your roof. That's just a flat plane, correct?
Yeah, that's making a slot on a simple piece of galvanized steel. The fixture that's driving it is magnetic, so it can be moved. That was during the testing procedure. Normally, that would be replaced by screws. And it's tuned by that piece of aluminum tape at the end to change the length of the slot. Slot changes frequency just like a dipole by changing its length.
Isn't that something? That's really something. There's a balun that you make. That's important, I'm sure.
Well, it's not absolutely mandatory. That's a duplexer, but a balun is useful on pretty much on any antenna, and I include them. Now, this is a slot on the back of my truck. You can make them out of any metal plane. This is aluminum tape stuck to the back window of my truck, and it works just like a vertical dipole. But there's one important point here. A horizontal dipole a slot is vertically polarized. That may fly right in the face of most hams, but it is. It's vertically polarized, and that's why they work well with the repeaters, which need vertical polarization, and why the slot in the dish is horizontal.
Isn't that something? Well, I noted that they use a lot of slot antennas on airplanes because they can cut you actually have to take a saw and cut a slot in the metal, and that is what you see on some of these airplanes if you really get up close to them. And I see them used on TV towers. I guess we've all seen that, and that's kind of interesting. TV towers that are maybe 1,000 foot tall, the antenna is a round tube, it looks, at maybe 50, 100 foot tall, but it's vertical with the slot, but that gives you a horizontal pattern, which television is. Is that right?
That's correct. Here's a picture of a TV slot, and you can see it's a vertical waveguide with a slot cut down the length of it, but the pattern is horizontal, even though the slot is vertical. That's the unique quality of a slot antenna.
Wow, that's pretty slick. How long have you had this satellite dish working?
Well, I changed things so rapidly, but it was up for quite a while. The one that's currently working is that straight linear one just made out of a piece of roofing flashing. That's the one I use regularly. But I have another, yeah, this one right here. That's very simple. That's just a piece of bent metal galvanized steel. And this one is a quarter wave. The other one's a half wave, and they work both in quarter. This one is an interesting one. The slide is the space between that little partial cylinder and that sheet at the base. But it works exactly the same. These are great for the top of RVs because you're not going to knock one of these off riding by on a tree. And you don't need a metal ground plane under this one. It works without the ground plane. It's self-contained.
That is pretty amazing. Super stuff. Well, we're so happy to know about this slot antenna, and it gives us something to ponder and go read about, because you don't hear much about it. When I saw that in QST, I said, aha, because I've heard about slot antennas, but nobody's ever explained it to me. And this is my 60th year in this hobby. And I thought, wow, John's the guy, because you're doing this. Now imagine you make your neighbors real happy because you don't have any dipoles stuck up or anything. They just think you're watching TV. So I guess that's kind of funny, isn't it, when you tell people you worked them on my satellite dish.
Well, living in a small mobile home, which I have for a long time and you got to convince the neighbors, because the CCNRs, the Gestapo that runs the main office, doesn't like any kind of antennas. But they don't know I've got antennas, and I've got them all over this place, and in many forms, actually.
That's great. And I guess you could probably slot the top of a flagpole, right?
Sure. Well, it needs to be a little bigger in diameter. I don't think you could make a good 2-meter slot the diameter of a flagpole, but slots can be cut in almost any metal surface. Even a mirror. I sent you a picture of an interesting one of a mirror, for example, which I etched off a bit of the back. What's on the back of a mirror? Silver, aluminum coating, and you cut a slot in that, and it works fine. I think I have a picture of that one here someplace. Yeah, here it is right here. This is a mirror, one of those typical long ones you put on the door to dress by, and that you can see the slot under my decorative name on there. It's just etched on there with drain cleaner.
I'll be darned. Oh, cool. Well, we'll have to have you back more often, because it sounds like you have a lot of things you do, and I like things that are kind of out there and makes us think, and it's stuff that's not just run of the mill. So I really appreciate your time. Anything else you should leave us with, like make sure you don't cut your fingers off with the saw or stuff like that when you're cutting a satellite dish?
But I think most hams are wise enough to that, though sometimes the readers surprise me on how little they know. But ham radio is a learning process.
It is. How long have you been licensed, John?
52 years.
52. All right. And I'm sure, like it's the best hobby in the world, and it already has ended several, or been the start of a couple of my careers, and we continue looking on beyond us. And I appreciate you doing some of these articles. You do some really great writing. So stay in touch with us, and let us know what we can be doing to have more fun here on Ham Radio, okay?
I'll be happy to contribute. I have lots of things I can show you.
Okay, we will have you back. You all heard that, so okay. Well, thanks for joining us, John, and we'll be looking for you on 2 meters with your satellite dish. That's great.
It'll be a pleasure.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's see. I wonder if Gordo has joined us yet. Has anything happened there, Brian?
Unfortunately, it seems as though Gordo is still out of power.
Oh my, we're going to have to get him a generator, I guess. I was going to tell you one thing, too, that is really something that everybody might want to know about this. We call him Pete the Greek. Pete is NL7XM, and he is a historian of call signs. And he's got a wall full of call books dating way back. And I asked him yesterday, I said, hey, Pete, can you find my high school chum that got me into ham radio? And so I emailed him at 12DC. It's 12VDC at AOL. And I said, can you find K9DTQ? Well, K9DTQ was gone some years ago, and I lost John. I couldn't find George. Pete comes back today, said not only did he find George, he talked to George and his wife and sent me his phone number a while ago. Now, how's that for service? So I'd encourage any of you, if you're looking for call signs that have fallen away and they're not in the call book or the data anymore, Pete's got them. So there you go. And he's a really good friend of Gordo is mine, and I'm really excited to get to talk to my high school chum, George Crowder, K9DTQ, because if it wasn't for George, I wouldn't be here. He was the one that introduced me to it. It's kind of interesting. I would go to his house to take organ lessons from his dad at the age of 12, because his dad was an organist at a Baptist church in Marissa, Illinois, and got me involved in the organ. And along with that, I would learn code with it too, because George was in the back room learning code. So, Pete put that together today. Thank you very much, Pete. I can't wait to get to talk to my friend George that started all of this. Well, speaking of starting things, George, you've got some words about DX Engineering, just one of the best dealers in the world. Aren't they something?
They sure are, Bob. And Don's not here tonight. He usually wears the DX shoes, but tonight I'll wear them. And we've got some interesting stuff here. As spring approaches, many of us are tuning our attention toward our antennas. Whether you're looking to repair your existing antenna or upgrade to a completely new one, DX Engineering has a wide range of options to suit your operating style and environment. DX Engineering Skyhawk antenna is an excellent choice for making long-distance contacts. In fact, there may not be a better 20, 15, and 10-meter tri-bander on the market. A trap-free design ensures the best bandwidth and lowest possible loss. The antenna's aluminum and stainless steel components contribute to its reduced weight and excellent corrosion resistance for years of trouble-free service. Turn your station into a big gun with this pile-up busting Yagi. The Skyhawk is manufactured and sold exclusively by DX Engineering. DX Engineering also makes the renowned butternut verticals, ideal for the operator who wants to get on the HF bands but doesn't have the space for a Yagi, dipole, or log periodic antenna. Butternut's HF2V 2-band vertical is an excellent 80-40 meter option. Its relatively short 32-foot height and narrow profile lets it survive winds up to 60 miles per hour. An optional 160-meter add-on kit is available separately. Butternut's HF6V 6-band vertical gets you on 80 and 10 meters. Its vertical radiator is only 26 feet tall, which means it'll handle winds up to 80 miles per hour, and it's got an optional add-on kit for the work bands, plus 160 and 6 meters are available too. The 9-band HF9V butternut vertical could be the most versatile antenna in DX Engineering's catalog. The antenna covers 80 through 6 meters with a radiator that's only 26 feet high. An optional 160-meter add-on kit is available separately. If your cables are taking a beating this winter, replace them with high-quality DX Engineering coaxial cable. You can create your own assembly, custom tailored to your application, by using the new custom cable builder at dxengineering.com. Select your cable type and the connector you want, including PL259, BNC, Type N, or Type F. If you prefer to make your own, DX Engineering's high-performance coaxial cable is available separately, either by the foot or in the bulk spool. DX Engineering ships faster than anyone else in the industry. If you get your ground shipping order in by 10 p.m. Eastern Monday through Friday and it's in stock, It'll be on the truck headed your way that day. With its proven products and expert advice, DX Engineering is helping shrink the globe. Request a catalog and shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com/hamnation. And we thank DX Engineering for their support of Ham Nation. And now let's get Dell in here. I believe, Dell, you've got some good antenna video for us tonight, don't you?
We sure do, Don. Something else. You will not believe the antenna farm. And we had to wear the KU hat tonight because the Jayhawks just won the 12th Big 12 championship in a row. So we put that hat on this evening. But let's talk about antennas. This antenna farm is going to make you envious, guaranteed. If you ask me what they raised in Canada back in the last decade when we went up there for a demo trip, I would have said canola and wheat and lots of it. But not now. After seeing this antenna farm, the one built by Don Moman, with the help of a lot of friends, I'll have to answer antennas, lots of them. I thought Val had a fantastic antenna farm, but, well, Don's, he's going to take the championship, I think. Right now, let's go ahead and take a look at 80 acres of antennas. We give a big thank you to Barry, VA6DX, for shooting the video for us here this evening. For the benefit of our audio-only podcast listeners, we're going to go ahead and describe the VE6JY antenna farm while you sit back and enjoy the drone video. The station, VE6JY, is a multi-contest capable station. It's located approximately 50 miles northeast of Edmonton in Alberta. Don Moman, again, is the station operator. He's active in most major and many minor contests. Current contest operations are mostly single band entries, and he does feature guest operators a lot. If you've operated or worked the station, you've probably heard Joel, VE6WQ, and Todd, VE5MX, on the air there at VE6JY. Again, the video was shot by Barry, VA6DX. If you go to his website, you'll see a picture of the drone he used to shoot this. We did some research to find out all about these antennas and how they're built and everything. And he told us he flew the drone during October last year so he could capture the images of the antennas surrounded by all the fall color in Alberta. Well, many thanks to Barry for capturing this footage and editing this 10-minute flight over an 80-acre antenna site. There are currently 14 towers on this 80-acre farm. They range in height anywhere from 50 feet to 160 feet. The surrounding area is farmland and pasture land. You'll notice when the drone happens to be flying to the northwest through the east that the ground drops off gradually over several hundred feet. That gives Don a very good takeoff angle with his antennas pointing toward Europe and Africa. The primary antenna choices from the VE6JY shack include 4 high Yagi stacks on 10 and 15 meters. He has a 3 high stack on 20. There's 5 elements on 40 meters. And there's another 3 element 40 meter Yagi, as well as a 4 element full size 80 meter Yagi. All Yagis are built right there on the farm. as are the rotating mechanisms. We'll get a chance, we'll describe that 80-meter Yagi in a little more detail here toward the end of the video. Receiving-wise, the choices there include many different beverage antennas. In fact, he has enough different choices that both 80 and 160-meter stations can listen in any of the main directions, unless, Don says, a rampaging bull moose decides to tear through the antenna farm. There are about also 80 and 164 square vertical arrays. We saw those just a moment ago in the video. There's a bunch of monoband dipoles distantly located from the Yagis also. They're built for 10 through 40 meters. During the summer of 2000, Don bought a 40-ton rough terrain crane to help him with the tower construction, installation, and repair of the antennas. With a jib and the extensions, this crane is capable of reaching 53 meters. That doesn't sound too high, but that's 173 feet. And that crane can lift 5,000 pounds to that height. So this is quite an operation. And Don says, just as some say life's too short for QRP, it may also be too short to just use a gin pole, especially when one is dealing with tower sections 20 feet long that weigh hundreds of pounds and antennas weighing over 1,000 pounds each. There are secondary antennas that Don can choose from the shack also. Several tri-band 10, 15, and 20-meter beams strategically located around the farm to allow in-band multiplier hunting. And there's the usual assortment of inverted Vs and dipoles for 80 and 40 meters. There's another one of the 4 square antennas just going by now. Well, Don's been fortunate to have some good friends assist him with the tower work over the past few years. Dan, VE6XH, Heinz, VE6LDX, Barry, VA6DX, and Maurice, VE6MAA, have all logged a lot of airtime. He's got a good ground crew, too. It's important to him, and he gives thanks to Don, VE6JKB, Wayne, VE6NWR, and Mitch, VE6JTM, as well as Dennis, VE6AQ. That 160-meter 4 square you saw a bit ago has 132-foot full-size radiators. Each one of those radiators has 60 radials. The 200-foot high stack, which features a 4x5 48-foot boom on 20 meters with AFA spid rotors on the side arms. We said we'd talk, if we had time, a little bit about the 4-element 80-meter Yagi. That giant antenna has a boom length of 75.9 feet. And it's constructed from aluminum tower sections. They're approximately 15 inches across the face, each one of them. The total estimated mass or weight of that antenna, the 4-elephant 80-meter Yagi, is 545 kilograms. That's 1,200 pounds. And the longest element is the reflector is nearing 42.6 meters or 140 feet. And it's made from aluminum pipe and tubing. And that tubing starts at 3.5 inches toward the center, tapers out to a little over 1/4 of an inch, around 1/3 of an inch, a little over. The mass of one element is 73 kilograms. That's 160 pounds on one element. It has a wind area of 2 square meters That's around 22 square feet. Don says even before trussing, the Element has a computer-designed wind survivability of about 100 miles per hour. The 80-meter Yagi is shown in various stages of construction. The Yagi is fully rotable. It uses 30-inch sprockets and worm drive gear reduction system with a half horsepower AC motor for drive. And that is about the extent of the background information of the antenna farm at VE6JY. We'll sit back with you now, look at some of the scenes shot from VA6DX's drone as he here gets in a little closer to some of the antennas and shows you some of the rotating mechanisms that Don has built there in Canada. That is a farm. Better said, that is an antenna farm. I don't believe I've seen that many antennas in one place anywhere. I grew up on an 80-acre farm, but it was a wheat farm. But it would have been filled with all of these antennas. These antennas we've been looking at have been spread out across a full 80 acres. They're just northeast of Edmonton in Alberta. And we do thank VA6DX, that's Barry, for shooting that and for editing it, and also for annotating the different antennas visually on the screen so you could tell what you were looking at. And while we're thanking people, I'd sure like to give a big thank you to Val for showing her world-class station there in Illinois to our QCWA Sunflower chapter last week. She put on a fantastic presentation, and she also has a fantastic antenna farm up her way. Well, that's about it for tonight, but if you'd like to man the booth for Ham Nation at Dayton, do drop me a line at hamnationvideos.twit.tv, and we'll get you on that list, get you scheduled for an hour and a half to 2 hour booth duty. Should be a lot of fun, meet a lot of people that way. Also, if your club would like a presentation via Skype regarding photography, let me know. Same email address. I have a presentation of full of a lot of photographic eye candy and tips to help you make your travel photos better, or any kind of photos for that matter. In the meantime, this segment's all about your shack photos and your videos. So if you will, please get them to us at hamnationvideos@twit.tv. That's it. Amanda's standing by out in Colorado, and we'll have news from the chat room coming up real soon. But first, let's check in with let's check in with George and find out what's new at Audible.
Okay, Dale. Well, let's talk a little bit about Audible. This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of audiobooks with more than 180,000 downloadable titles across all types of literature, including fiction, nonfiction, and periodicals. For listeners of Ham Nation, Audible is offering a free audiobook to give you a chance to try out their service. One audiobook you may consider downloading is The Fast Track to Your Technician Class Ham Radio License by Michael Burnett. If you're not already a ham, here's a good chance right here to get started for free. Check out this book or a number of other titles available on Audible. To download an audiobook for free or another one of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/hamnation. And now let's check in with Amanda.
Thank you, George. And before I get started, I just have to show up this off, you guys. I got my KA6 LMS QSL card. Worked them a couple weeks ago. Meant to show that last week and I forgot. Anyhow, quite a few questions tonight. The first one being, George, I think you would like to take this one. Greg, K2GRG is wondering, what are some of the guidelines when placing more than one antenna on a tower? Let's say he has an HF dipole and he also has his VHF Yagi. Where should those go and how far apart should they be on the tower?
That's a good question. It depends on the bands that you're involved with. Say like VHF and an HF antenna, those are far enough away frequency-wise that I don't think you'll run into a big problem if they're fairly close to each other. A little separation is good, but I think, if you got maybe 3 feet away or so, you're probably okay. HF bands, maybe a little more interaction there, but, we have fan dipoles, and all of those are right next to each other.
Okay. I hope that answers your question, Greg. The next question is actually a personal one. Bob, I'm going to send this over to you. Jeff and I are gearing up for the DX contest this weekend, and we've been talking about, since we have multiple HF antennas now on one tower, we would like to maybe try to work dual places on different bands and work the contest at the same time. Well, we mentioned this on our local repeater, and a lot of folks came back and said that's a bad idea if you're going to be running any kind of power to either one of those rigs. So, Bob, any suggestions? Is that doable, or should we just scrap it and work one band?
It's quite doable, but you got to be careful because you could, if you're running a lot of power, you could be blowing the front end out of one of the other radios. You ought to talk to Jerry about that. The best way that I've ever done any of this is they actually have filters. We did a thing at Pacificon last year. We did the video here, and I showed those filters there about this long, with the big around. He had one for every band. They were working all 6 bands and high power, no problem. But they had a lot of filters, and that's really the way to do it. Is they're just roll-off filters for each rig, so you're not going to get into the next one. That's what I would look to do before I charged into just putting up a bunch of antennas, because you could get yourself in a little bit of trouble.
Okay, and I want everyone to know that, because all of a sudden you have all these antennas, you have 2 radios. Hey, let's just do everything. Be very careful. We're a little bit worried about it now. So I need to call Jerry, actually. If I could have his hotline, that'd be great. Anyhow, this one is for George again. George, I know you're a little bit familiar with the 2-meter dish antenna. So there was a lot of questions, by the way, for John. I wish he would have stuck around. He could have filled up a whole another half an hour with the questions people had for him. But anyhow, George, is there any gain with the slot antenna that that John was showing us tonight?
That's a good question, and I would have liked to ask him that. I'm not sure. I'm thinking, no, it's probably about the same as a dipole. Wouldn't you think, Bob?
Not any gain to it at all. But maybe a dB or 2 if they're at any of it. Nothing to be worried about or to console yourself with. Look at the article. It's in QST this month. And we are going to have John back again. He's a wealth of information. He does a lot of things. And I'm really excited to have John on with us. So be watching. We'll have him back in a couple of weeks. So write down your questions, and we'll be ready to we'll maybe just do a question and answer thing with the chat room in the middle of the show with John, because he's got a lot of knowledge about this thing and a lot of other things. So, but no, there's not any kind of gain that you're. The only gain is that you don't have an antenna that's in an HOA situation where you can't have that antenna. Well, here it's just my satellite dish. Yeah, right. So we'll have him back.
Very good. Yeah, there was a lot of questions, at least 15 out there for him. So we'll have to save those and make sure he can get answers to them for the next time he's on. That was great, by the way. Very cool. very deceptive to your homeowners associations as well. All right, this one's kind of just a roundtable question. Recently, the ARRL has put it out to the FCC to say, the FCC went to the ARRL and said, what do you think about lifetime licenses? So kind of just wanted to get everyone's opinion. Dale, we hadn't heard from you tonight. So Dale, what do you think about the lifetime license?
Actually, it would save a little paperwork here and there. Can't complain too much. I had a first-class radio telephone operator's license for a long time, and faithfully renewed that every so many years. I can't remember what the term was. It seems like it was about 5 years. Renewed that until all of a sudden in the 80s, I got a general, first-class general radio telephone operator's license in the mail, and it was for a lifetime, so I liked that. So from a lazy man standpoint, I think it's a great idea. I doubt if there'd be too much negative impact from doing it, actually. Amanda, go ahead. Okay,
and George, same question. What do you think?
Well, I'll just play the devil's advocate and kind of take the opposite position, and not that anyone's going to listen to me on it, but I have a general radio telephone lifetime license too, same way as Dale. It originally expired after the end of so many years, and you'd renew it. Well, shortly after, or around the same time that the FCC turned that license into a lifetime license, they also dropped the requirement for television stations and certain radio stations to have engineers with a license. So I wouldn't want to see that happen to ham radio. So I'm a little leery of the lifetime license. I think it's a good idea that you check in with the FCC ever so often, let them know you're still there and you're still interested in the hobby. But, that's just my take on it.
Okay, and Bob, what do you think?
I agree with you, George. We have to, all of us, remember and realize amateur radio is a privileged license. It's issued by the FCC totally upon your knowledge of this hobby. And I think it's a good thing. If you think it's worth anything at all, isn't it worth 4 or 5 minutes to renew your license every whatever years? My goodness, go to QRZ.com. They'll renew it for you. You don't have to do anything if you're that lazy. And I am. They did my last one. It was good. But no, seriously, George, you and I are on the same path here. Yeah, it's cool that you don't ever have to do it, but doesn't this hobby mean enough to you that you could fill out a piece of paper once in a while or poke a couple of keys? I think so. So that's my take on it. I hope that it doesn't happen and we continue like we have been for all these many 100 years or plus.
I agree as well. I think especially when you look at club licenses, how many clubs or other things have fizzled out and they're going to have a lifetime. What is their lifetime? Those kinds of things. So I think that you should definitely let the FCC know that you're still there and active. And also, if they ever kept the statistics, they would know how many actually active hams there are by renewing their licenses, obviously. So, hey, you guys, just ignore the noise in the background. Jeff just knocked over a whole pile of stuff. Sorry about that. Anyhow, that's all I've got for tonight. So I'll send it over to you, Bob.
Well, this show is live, and boy, tonight's proven it. But I'll tell you what, George did a stellar job. You're great, George. But we're not going to fire Don, okay? You got me on that?
No. Do not.
And Gordo will be back next week. Hey, guys, I was just looking around, and here is the card from George Crowder. That was, I guess, look, it was a KN9 EID he sent it to. Yep, it was my first contact, evidently, because it was in 1956 and September. How about that? And what's cool about it is that was done on that Harvey Wells behind me. And Oh, golly, on 2 meters right here, AM. And this was my great mentor. This was done a little later in the year in October. This is the guy that was the chief engineer at CBS Radio and KMOX in St. Louis. I could be here all night telling you stories about what Larry Burroughs taught me and what he meant to me. But golly, and this is cool. Some guy sent this back to me. I had sent it to him. He was in Dallas, Texas. This was back in where the heck is it? 57. This is in the day when you made your own cards. General Electric would send you these blank QSL cards, and you could take that card and fill it out. And I had a rubber stamp, and that was my first QSL card. And that was, golly, that was July of the next year. I got licensed in September of 56. But I guess I'm just an old curmudgeon that loves all these memories, because this was the start of my real life, of my careers, actually, because of this wonderful hobby. That's why I just think it's such a privilege to be a ham. Golly, we can fill out a piece of paper once in a while. So, Amanda, what do you have for a frequency for the nets? I've been noticed I can't watch the chat room all together all the time. But where are the nets tonight that you know?
So the first one I've heard of is 7276. And they had to move quite a few times, but that's the final answer, 7276. And then again, 14276 is where the 20-meter net is, thereabouts. Look up and down a little bit. That you'll find them. If you can hear them, you'll find them. Yeah, okay, that's great. And then the dewdrop. George, where is that? Oh, there it is on that stereo 355 800, right? The node.
Yeah, star dewdrop in star or node number 355 800, and the D-Star net reflector 14 module C.
Okay.
And I have to make some
All
corrections. Right. I'm sorry. 7264 and 14267. I apologize, you guys, but that's the final answer.
Because we don't want to cause a bunch of interference. That's another thing we're going to talk about. I got some things here next week that Gordo and I get into about how do we act when we get on the air and how do we stay out of everybody's way. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been fun. And we'll see you back here next week on Ham Nation. Pass the word on. We'll see you on the air in a little bit. Take care. Have fun. It's amateur radio from K9EID in the Ozarks. Bye-bye for now.
Hi, everybody. It's time for our annual audience survey. We'd really like to hear from you. It helps us understand our audience better, know what you like and don't like, how you listen to the show. It also helps us tell advertisers what kind of people listen. But I promise you, your feedback is always kept personally anonymous. All you have to do is visit twit.tv/survey and let us know what you think. It'll just take a few minutes, and it'll help us make Twit even better. We really appreciate your support and any help you can give us. twit.tv/survey.